Good evening, everybody, or afternoon, depending where you are, or even night. I think some of you might be in Europe, who knows, all over the place. So, welcome. So, as before, the intention here tonight is, when we had our report review sessions, there was many hundreds of people, and some people wanted to spend more time, more intimately to be able to offer, answers to their direct questions. And so here we are. And that's why we're doing this tonight. So really, I want to give you the time, and the priority is your questions. So we're going to get into that. And I know a bunch of you are here, recognize a lot of you. Just so you know, we just came back from the biohacking conference that Dave Asprey hosts. It was an awesome event. We met with a lot of clinicians, and the good news is, and everybody here will appreciate this, that when we used to, 3-4 years ago, go out into the world and showcase ourselves, it was like, oh, well, this is interesting. Maybe one day this might work. This time, doctors were chasing us saying, how do we get this into practice? How do I work? How do I use this in surgery? How do I use this in women's health, in child behavioral development? And so they're starting to hear, not only from us, but from their customers, that all the things that they can fix, we can potentially fix, and they need to intertwine our work in their work. And so, anyways, that's the good news I thought I should share with you guys. And this is also because of you, because you guys are the pioneers that came in first and said, I believe this might work, and maybe this is a tool that will benefit me, and which allows us to go out there and speak with everybody. So without taking too much of your time, I'm going to jump straight into your questions, because that was the intention here, to give you more time. And I see Patricia's hand up first. So Patricia, go ahead. If you're there, just unmute yourself. Oh, here, I will just unmute yourself. Oh, I think I just muted you. There you go.
Hi, forgive me, my camera's on the side, so I don't look like I'm looking. I sent you my gene specifics and the messages. Can you see that? Because it would make my question faster.
I
I
don't.
did hours prep before this.
Hours. Oh, here we go. It just
Yes.
popped up. Okay. So you love the comment about context. That's so important, by the way. Context. This thinking started when I was personally working on people from with mood and behavior in the brain, and realizing that the same thing that they thought was their problem was actually their strength. And this is just a unique insight that we developed. This is not from medical literature. It's something that we just noticed in people. And so that's just the detail. So my BDNF, high TBI. Okay. So your TBI and your BDNF is AG. So now, yeah, so TBI definitely is deeply rooted and connected to BDNF. So BDNF is the gene that drives neurogenesis and new neural pathway development, and even the maintenance of existing. And so it sounds like you're doing a lot of the right stuff. Sauna is how often do you go to the sauna?
Right now, 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
And
So
totally, it's brilliant.
it is brilliant.
And I'm going to order the BDNF. I've had my person check it for I'm going to order that.
Okay. I'll give you a bit of a hack. So what you can do, yes, sauna works. And if you feel that it's working, so one other thing that we need to learn when it comes to functional, let's call it improvement, right? Improvement of whatever the problem is. When we find something's working, clinically, we usually leave it at that. When really we need to double down and do more of that thing, because we're not, so remember, medical work is on suppressing a symptom, which means there's only so far to go. But when it comes to supporting a system and making yourself optimal, there's way more to go. You could be better than you were before the problem even started. So if you find, for example, sauna makes me feel better, then you need to double down. And what does double down mean? There's a hack you can do with sauna, where once a week you do a sauna day. And what does that look like? It looks like, and it's intense, it's not easy, but potent, and it becomes a therapeutic acute dose as opposed to a constant trickle. So you're going twice, and
Mhm.
each session is divided into two 30-minute sessions. So
Mhm.
30 minutes, and 30 minutes isn't easy. 20 minutes is the norm. 30 minutes is difficult. 30 minutes,
40 is easy for me, but I also do the contrast. Sorry to interrupt. Sorry.
then it's probably not hot enough. You need to crank up the heat. If you don't feel like passing out at 30 minutes, it's got to get hotter. So 30 minutes, you take a 10-minute break to relieve
Mhm.
the pain, then you go in for another 30 minutes. So it's been an hour and 10 minutes. That's
Mhm.
the right. Then you let the day pass, you do that again in the evening.
Mhm.
You do that once a week for a good month or two, and it's like
Mhm.
a steroid effect of that sauna. It's also going to affect your hormones. You're going to see changes in your testosterone levels, and everything will clean up. So it's kind of like an acute reset. So again, going
Mhm.
back to sauna worked, double down and use it therapeutically, and do this once a week hack. Do that for a couple months. You're gonna feel like a wow factor outcome from that.
I like
Right?
that.
Yeah.
What I do in the break between is I do like the cold. It's as cold as I can get as a shower. Is that okay, or does that defeat
Sure,
it?
that's the best thing that you could do during that time.
Okay.
What ends up happening is, because you're so hot, so your body will still get the benefit of getting into cold without the discomfort,
Mhm.
right? So you can usually go longer because you're actually craving that reset, but your
Mhm.
body's still getting the benefit. The body's still responding to the cold. All the systems are still fine. Oh, is this dangerous? Is this a problem? So you're
Mhm.
still getting that response, but without the discomfort. So it's the best thing you could do in that gap.
So other than sauna, can you add something? And I got this. I will do that.
Yeah, so another thing is deep breathing. So
Mhm.
you see a lot of ancient cultures that practice a lot of, like, let's stop 3 4 5 times a day to pray, and
Mhm.
that still happens today in some religions.
Mhm.
But the prayer that was done is much more intense and comprehensive than what we see today, and a lot of it is rooted around breathing, deep breathing.
Mhm.
And so when I say breathing, it's two things. It is actual breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, but it's also breath holding.
Mhm.
So when you hold your breath just to the point where it's uncomfortable, not choking yourself and sweating, but like where you like, oh, I would have normally breathed here, go a little bit longer, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And let it go. It stimulates that mitophagy, that mitochondrial genesis, new mitochondria, and
Mhm.
the highest density of mitochondria in your body is your brain, and that's what supports redevelopment of brain injury, right? So it seems like a very simple thing, but you do that a couple times a day for 2 months, it's
Mhm.
going to change the outcome. So breathing exercises, there's tons of YouTube videos now. I don't know if anyone here knows Dr. Sachin Patel. He's a well-known functional medicine doctor. If you look up some of his YouTube videos on deep breathing, there's also, by the way, an app that I just found. I'll tell you, for deep breathing. Where is it? Breath Source. So they have a bunch of breathing exercises built into the app. So,
Mhm.
but these are two different things. Breathing is, the breathing exercise, which if you do it the right way, supports brain-derived neurotrophic factor, so
Mhm.
development. The breath holding
Mhm.
supports mitochondria, which is the mitophagy. So they're
Mhm.
two different things, and you need both.
I'm doing those one where you breathe and then exhale and hold it, and then two breaths, and then you inhale and hold it. And I'm doing it when I swim. Like, how long can I hold it swimming?
Amazing.
So I'll work on those. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Cool.
I love your context. It's everybody I go around town, I'm like, oh, do you know about the DNA company? Because it just explains how we all function, and it
Yeah.
makes me easier for more forgiving of myself and others.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I mean, we just came back from the biohacking conference, which is the mecca of the world's best, in terms of people that are optimizing self, and there everybody needed help.
Mhm.
Right? This is the top 0.5% of people that are fixing and even there, it's like, wow, we need this, right? So yeah, so great on you for spreading the word.
Mhm. Thank you.
All right, Kathleen,
Hi,
hey,
Kashif.
how you
Um,
doing?
I'm good. Hey, I actually looked through my report. Got in from out of town, so I haven't had a chance to go back through it and print it out to talk to you about it. And I'm using my computer right now for this. But I'm wanting to know. I saw that I had some tendencies towards ADHD, a high tendency towards that, and that there were some issues with repetitive activities also, that I would lose interest in that. And I saw something about collagen and to avoid collagen in there somewhere. So that perplexed me. But I'm just curious about with ADHD, having a hard time, staying on task, what you would have to say for biohacks for that.
And sorry, it skipped for a second. What was the reason that did you see the? I know it said that trouble focusing, but did you see the reason in terms of which gene?
That's what I have to go in and pull up my.
Okay, I can point. Out. Sure. So the tip, there's a couple different reasons that may happen. One is if your COMT is fast, AA. Right? Or if serotonin is dysregulated. Or if your dopamine receptors are sparse, which I believe is also AA. So the reason I asked is because it's a different solution for each one of those, right? Usually the most common is the AA COMT, where you clear your neurochemicals so fast that it's hard to focus. So what do you feel during the day? Is it like is it like the squirrel effect where every little next thing gets you? Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
And is it that it's distracting you and bothering you, or is it more that it's exciting you and you like the opportunity of every next little thing?
Yeah, life is very interesting.
Yeah.
But I also say I've had a hard time keeping a house, a space neat and clean. And I look like a mad scientist. I have, healing energy gadgets. I have books everywhere. I have things, but I've always had a hard time with keeping my space organized and, and decluttered as well. And it just seems like a lot of times there's a lot of things calling to me, and yeah.
So again, we don't have your gene information in front of us, but it could be either one of those. In fact, let me see if I can even quickly open it. I may actually have access.
I'm in the practitioner.
Yeah, I was logged into the practitioner portal for somebody. Oh yeah, here we go. I'm going to expose you to the world. You're okay if I open your stuff?
Yeah, it is fine.
Okay.
And yeah,
this will make things a lot easier to answer. Because there's multiple different answers for multiple different paths.
Yeah. And I have no idea how autoimmune kind of thyroid things and things like that, fit into all this, but
it is based on fast COMT, which is, basically you clear your neurochemicals so fast, and your dopamine pathway is actually expressing very high. That speaks to the messiness and the clutter, because it's so your expression of dopamine is so high that it's very easy for you to sort of experience pleasure and reward, which means that you're not necessarily motivated by things that don't give you a deep level of interest, which often leads to this clutter, mess, call it sloppiness, because it's not motivating or interesting. You're already moved on to the next thing. So for COMT, most people are needing to speed COMT up. They have the opposite problem. So now the good news is that when it comes to women's health, this is a real blessing when it comes to your hormones. Most women are begging for, like, how do I get my COMT working better? Because it prevents things like breast cancer, ovarian cancer, crazy menopause. It supports all of that because you clear your toxic hormone metabolites faster also.
okay.
So, yeah.
You sure you got the right person there? Is that exactly? I thought there was a medium processing of dopamine, and
I see medium processing of COMT and high expression of dopamine binders when I'm looking at you.
okay.
KRONZ, right?
Right.
Or Z. Yes.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I see. So it is definitely the medium COMT with the high dopamine. So when it comes to overall overarching health, I wouldn't recommend doing anything to slow it down, to change that, because of how beneficial it is for your hormones. So instead, it's more like, so first of all, I have the same problem, but to an exaggerated degree, right? And I know exactly what it feels like, because this is me all the time. And so what is needed is structure. It's not so much about taking a pill. Remember, there's three solutions when it comes to epigenetics. That's nutrition, which includes food and supplements. Then it's environment, which is like, what are you breathing and what are you putting on your skin and what are you exposed to? Then there's lifestyle. What are your habits? So in this case, I think it's more about habit formation, and habit formation means structure. And what does structure mean? What people like you and me need to do is really understand what the priorities are, and attach a lot of value to them, and limit the number of tasks we're willing to take on. So you gotta you gotta be able to say, here's the 3 things I have to get done today. That's it, right? These are the 3 things that are gonna give me the maximum value, and nothing else matters. And then here are, I'm sorry, I'm reversing this a little bit. It's more like, here's where I want to be in 3 years, right? And here's the 4 big things I need to do to be there in 3 years, right? Here's where I want to be in 1 year in order to be ready for that 3 years. And here's the 4 big things I need to get done this year in order to be ready for that, right? Here's what I need to do this quarter. And then it comes down to like 3 big things. Here's the 3 big things I need to get done this quarter. And then you go to month, and then you go to week, and then you go to day. First of all, that is going to give you stress relief like you've never felt before. You're going to feel this sense of like weight off your shoulders. And I say that because your BDNF is also suboptimal, which leads to, a more meaning when it comes to these stressors and distractors. It will give you the structure and the focus. The other half of that is, once you have that laid out, is who do you need? Like, who do you need to help you with that structure? Because the challenge is, you aren't the structure person, right? You're the doer. So who do you need? And where are you going to find that person? And really, this may not be the answer you want, which is what pill do I take or what supplement do I take, but this is the best answer I can give you. And I've been through it myself. And it did change my outcome, right? Which is, here's the plan, make the plan, then work the plan. And then you're always going to find, and do it in that order, like big picture down, which makes it very, very easy to figure out what those 3, 4 things are, 3, 4 things are, 3, 4 things are for each phase. And nothing else matters, right? Because the value of what you're going to receive in 3 years, whether it's financial, relationship, religious, whatever this map is about, the value that you're going to receive in 3 years, which you just finished mapping out, all these other distractions and opportunities are going to come in. You can see that it's going to be very difficult to get that same level of value. Whereas if you're thinking in today, like this, it's very easy to see how much more value there is in that other thing. And again, I'm not talking necessarily monetarily. It could be relationship, could be anything, right? But once you have the plan laid out and you see the 3-year deliverable that you're going to have in your hand, and you'll see how clearly you actually can have that deliverable when you map this out, then the only thing missing is, who do I need? And who do I need is like, who's going to create the structure, who's going to help me execute, who's going to, and I'm talking in business terms, but again, this applies to everything, right? So really, I think that's the best answer I can give you, having just gone through the same thing myself. The other thing you can do to hack it a little bit is cold plunging. So cold plunging supports neurochemical balance in the morning before you start your day. It's going to change the way you feel. There's going to be more of a Zen feeling about things, less of a reward seeking squirrel feeling, right? And lastly, I was going to suggest L-theanine, but your dopamine is already high. We don't want to get you into flaky territory. I'm just thinking of one other thing. Perhaps the whole fruit coffee extract, because your BDNF is off, which will allow you to give the things that are distracting you a little less meaning. so you're not really interested in them, right? So that would be the pill to pop, is the whole fruit coffee extract, and that will also give you a better mood. So that's my answer to the situation.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. What about collagen? What did that have to do with it said avoid collagen, and it was serotonin, or what that was with?
In your mood and behavior, avoid collagen.
Yeah, it said one thing.
I
You
hate
can
to
do-
interrupt, I'm so sorry, but I just want to make sure everybody has an opportunity to answer, get an answer to their question, and if we could move on to Nancy
Okay.
when we have an opportunity, that would
And
be
to be
great.
honest, I don't even know the answer to that. I didn't see that in the, so that we can get you that answer.
Mhm.
We'll make a note to get Kathleen that a deeper response to that, because I actually don't even know where that came from. Remember, we have a whole team, a clinical team that builds these reports and insights. So there's things they know that I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely, Kathleen. If you have any further questions that our client care team can address, if you just want to drop them in a chat, we'll make a note of them and get back to you. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Nancy,
Hi, how are you?
good. How are you doing?
Fine. Well, not so fine, but
Oh,
um,
let's change that.
yes, my main question is in the chat and it's way up at the beginning.
Okay.
And I give you the gene profile in it.
Okay.
It starts with my main symptom is I want to eradicate heavy brain and body fog.
Okay. Okay, so your antioxidation is not the best. Glutathione, yeah, GLP-1. However, I can resist the effects of heavy metals and chemicals. Oh, sorry, from inhalation. Yes, I understand. Okay. Sorry, how old are you, Nancy?
69,
And when did this start?
30 years ago, more than 30 years ago,
Okay.
32 or 3 years ago.
And when was menopause?
Menopause was middle 50s.
Okay, so 15 years before that it started.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And your
I've been in highly stressful situations continually, so that
Okay.
has something to do with it.
okay. So estrogens,
Yeah, estrogen toxicity.
yeah. There's a it says co-dominant, but you're leaning more towards estrogen dominant. Brain, and now when you say body fog, what does that mean? What does that feel like?
Well, there's just a heaviness. I mean, I was on a natural protocol for Lyme disease back in 2008, so 15 years ago, and my whole system cleared up for 4 to 5 days, and I could feel it throughout my body and my mind.
Mhm.
But then all of a sudden, the heaviness came back throughout. So
Okay.
sometimes my head can clear up and that feels rather good, but the rest is still feeling kind of heavy.
Okay. So now the misconception is that women age a lot during menopause. The biggest decade for aging for women, and it's different for men, is actually between the ages of 40 and 50. And this is exactly when you experience this in combination with your horrible antioxidation profile, which makes sense, right?
Yeah.
What's happening is in that decade where you aged, you experience a drop in both the size and volume of mitochondria. And you have an extreme high density of mitochondria in your brain. And mitochondria gives you that ongoing drip of energy as opposed to like a coffee type boost, right? So what you're describing is mitochondrial dysfunction. And there's no coincidence happened at around the age of 40, because that's the day where women start aging aggressively for the next 10 years. And then you hit menopause, right? So menopause is meant to be sort of a transition and not a horrible thing. That's a hormone problem and environmental problem. But you age before it. So what's happened is your mitochondria needs a lot of support. Now you've been doing this for 30 years, right? Living like this for 30 years.
I
Um,
haven't worked since 2000.
oh, wow, okay.
Well,
Now,
there was a break recently, but it's not really mentionable, so.
did you find at all that after menopause, or even when menopause started, that it got worse, or was it just the same?
No, the same.
Same? Okay. How is your bone health?
Well, just recently I had a DEXA scan and it says I have osteopenia. So, you know, I'm taking vitamin D, but that was another one of my questions was
Sure.
if both of them have to do with vitamin D. One is that the recommendations for food include dairy or non-dairy, fatty fish, eggs, and meat. Whereas the rest of it, of my profile, is all vegetables and fruit and, you know, green,
Yeah.
et cetera.
But
The other
the
one
way
is
that,
that
oh, sorry,
I'm
go ahead.
supposed to combine the vitamin D3 with K2.
Yeah.
And I'm on a blood thinner because on that Lyme protocol, I ended up with all three hepatic veins totally occluded, partial occlusion to the portal vein to the liver. And I was in liver and kidney failure. So they had to put in a TIPS in my liver. And so
Mm.
I've been on a blood thinner ever since because of that sudden clotting. And I think the sudden clotting was the natural protocol that I had excess toxins that I was not able to get out of my body.
When was that?
2008.
2008. Okay. And is that, when did your bone health problem start?
Well, I didn't know anything about it until now. I've never broken a bone and never had a
Okay.
problem with my bones. So
Okay. Okay. So I
I'm
just,
doing OsteoStrong. So I thought I just started OsteoStrong. So I thought I'd get the DEXA scan.
okay, that's an amazing solution, right? So, okay, the reason I ask all these questions is so definitely brain fog, body fog at that age, based on your mitochondrial profile, it all adds up. So you need mitochondrial support. And the solution, it can be as simple as here's some supplements to take, all the way up to, you know, red light therapy, so literally putting voltage into the cells. There's tools you can use that do that. They're like biohacking type tools. They aren't commonly available, but they are available. And really some of what we talked about earlier, like the sauna, the breathing exercises, etc. Now, the reason I asked about the bone health is because just to understand the total picture of what you're feeling, when you get into menopause and you lose bone density, you leach heavy metals back into the bloodstream because your body actually stores them in bone. And so
Oh,
the
okay.
metals, and this would be in your case, you do a good job of filtering, right? And your GSTT1 does a good job. So you likely, if there are heavy metals in your body, you likely are doing a good job of sort of depositing them into bone, which is why pre-menopause, no problem, but post-menopause, you're leaking this stuff back out, right? So I would say there's a couple things to do here. A lot of mitochondrial work, which is not a simple take this and go. Like I would recommend working with a practitioner, whether it's with us or somebody else. We can recommend someone on our side. The second thing is a chelation type therapy to leach out the heavy metals. You're likely, I mean, you can test for this to be sure, but given your bone density is falling, and I just want to make sure, because the way you're talking about brain fog and body fog, that's often a heavy metal issue, especially given your age. It's kind of a double whammy now, so it could start to feel worse. So I would consider chelation, and that's why even put these two together, even more so, I think you should consider working with somebody. These are not like self-serve type solutions. Chelation you should never do on your own, right? You need someone guiding you through it. It can be horrible if you do it on your own, screw it up. So
Yeah.
my answer isn't a go do it yourself. Like for Kathleen, hey, create some structure, go do this, and you'll probably feel a lot better. In your case, I would say you should be working with someone with functional medicine expertise.
Okay. And so where do I find that type of person? So,
So if you maybe we'll connect directly with Nancy.
Yeah,
And-
Nancy, we can touch base afterwards and get you connected with our client care team, and they can give you a bit more information about who you should be talking to.
okay, because I was looking at function health versus life force. Function Health is just Mark Hyman's. They do a bunch of tests and then a practitioner does an analysis. Life Force is different where you have coaching.
Yeah.
So,
I
Yeah,
would
yeah,
recommend.
Nancy will connect you with client care and we can get you some more answers through them.
okay,
Yeah,
thank
maybe,
you.
B, we can get either Jason or Allison to talk to Nancy about genomic mastery.
You got
Because
it.
I get a sense that, you know, she wants a full deep dive. And it's the functional genomics practitioner plus coaching. So it's like, here's all the answers and now here's someone to help you implement it. Right?
Well, I've got a, there's a financial problem here. I've been borrowing money to support myself, and I was almost homeless in December. My mother won't let me borrow against assets that she has that are going to come to me. She's 99.
Yeah.
And so I'm, I was in a car accident, and that's the only reason I have money right now to pay for
Right.
all this other kind of
Right.
stuff. So I don't have lots for coaching and all that other kind of stuff, which I would love to do, but I'm doing energy healing. I'm doing, I have all kinds of energy healing gadgets, PEMF device, Inframat Pro,
Yeah.
far infrared sauna, Q1000, a Healy, you name it practically. I've been
Nancy,
trying.
this is Tracy. I'm the COO at the DNA company. I think we have a solution that we might be able to help you with. So make
Great.
sure that Beth gets your information and we will definitely connect you, and I will in the next day or two.
Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
And I just want to move on. We've got a question from Carol in the chat.
Okay.
I don't know, Cash, if you can scroll up. It's been sitting there for a little while, just right under Nancy's. If we could get to her next, that would be fabulous.
Where is Carol? Here we go. Carol Child, the dysregulated serotonin, and I have a suboptimal BDNF. What would you recommend for helping me? So, Carol, when you say helping you, just in general optimization, or is there a specific problem you're trying to solve? I'll start talking on the general optimization, but if there's something you're feeling, like for example, sleep, I would say looks like it would be a problem. But what are we talking about? We're talking about neurogenesis is a challenge, and prioritizing stimulus is a challenge. Your brain is constantly reacting to whatever stimulus is incoming. That can lead to irritability, stress, anxiety, poor BDNF. It can lead to mood dysregulation in the context of, call it the drama queen response, like everything means a lot, right? And so I'm overreacting, giving things, call it passion. Some people might experience as passion when they're around you. So that's some of what we see with that. The other end of it is poor sleep. So BDNF directly affects circadian rhythm, and serotonin directly affects your ability to stay asleep. So on both ends, you're going to experience a challenge, especially as you age, it becomes worse. So the solutions are, first of all, let me talk about in general terms, the TPH and BDNF. I actually just had something open that I was working on. Let me just get it 1 second. 1 second. Sorry, because I was literally just working on some new research around that epistatic phenomenon. So just for anyone that doesn't know, when you have the TPH gene being off, it leads to turning the good version of the BDNF gene off also, in the context of the mood, not in the neuroplasticity itself. Okay, so the two products, I'm going to put them into the chat here, that we've been working on very specifically for this unique phenomenon of the BDNF epistasis, are right here. I'm going to put it into the chat. Oh, I don't see the ability to share with everybody. Oh, maybe I do here. These two products, choline and popatidylserine. That's the first time I ever tried to pronounce it. I've been skipping reading it out of my head and just calling it PP. So those two products this is new research, by the way, that we've been doing in our clinic. Again, we just keep refining. So we learned that, okay, whole fruit coffee extract helps BDNF. How do we then help this unique cohort of people that also have the epistasis? So we started researching that, and we just kind of came across this. So these two support that in terms of neurogenesis, in terms of mood, in terms of circadian rhythm, very specifically, by the way, in circadian rhythm. Oh, thank you, Kathleen. That's your COMT activity. Your brain moves a little too fast. So yeah, so very specifically supports circadian rhythm, which, by the way, can solve a lot of problems, because if your internal clock isn't working, hormones are off, mood is off, you know, hunger is off, a lot of things are inconsistent, you know, day to day. So these two support that, and I would suggest highly the whole fruit coffee extract. 1 second. Now, for your serotonin dysregulation, there's a supplement called, we make something called Deep Calm. But the gene that we look at is called 5-HTT-LPR to understand your serotonin response. And there's a common supplement called 5-HTP, which regulates the serotonin pathway. So if you're dysregulated, you take that and it makes up for it for some to some degree. The only thing I would say in your case is to take a lot more than what it recommends on the bottle. There's no problem side effect, you know, it's, you can take a lot. So typically they'll tell you to take a few pills twice a day. You can take more pills 3 to 4 times a day. You're not going to have an issue with that. And you'll, especially if you're trying to do something that requires focus, or, you know, if you're going to be going to a work thing or a family thing where there's a lot of people and there's anxiety or there's distraction or there's irritability, this will help regulate the serotonin response. So those are the two things I would recommend in general terms. You know, if there's a specific problem, we can look at that. But when we see this profile, this is what we would say. 5-HTP for the serotonin, what I talked about earlier for the BDNF, and the whole fruit coffee extract. The last thing I'll say is we make a product called Deep Calm, and the name obviously infers that it's about maintaining, you know, the opposite of anxiety, some sense of calm and lack of stress. But it does a lot more. It's really balancing neurochemicals and your mood. So it's not just about feeling calm. It's really about feeling as appropriate for whatever is going on. You know, your mood is matching whatever the input is. That's what Deep Calm does. So you may consider that. Now, based on everything I said, again, context is key, like we said earlier. So what, you know, you probably heard something that resonates between the 4 or 5 things that is relevant to you. So focus on that. Okay. Rose.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, good.
Okay, so I have a couple of questions. I'd like you to pull up my mood and behavior profile if you can.
Yeah. Oh, I spelled their name wrong. Here we go. Now let's
So I
see
have a
how.
slow prompt. I think I emailed you about this as well.
Oh, right, I remember that. Yeah.
Hmm.
We talked about Sammy.
Yes.
You
So
actually have the fast comp, not the slow comp.
Oh, AA?
AA is the fast. Yeah. So you have the ultra fast, in fact.
Oh, I thought that AA was slow.
No, GG. So AA
GG.
is the very rare super fast. I mean, I will double check in case I'm brain fogging right now. But I'm fairly certain. 1 sec. I'm just checking our clinical guide. Oh, what am I doing wrong here? AA slow. Oh, I'm seeing this reverse. The highest comp activity. Yeah, sorry, you're right.
Slow,
Slow,
right?
low comped. Oh, I was reading it backwards, sorry. There you go. Good thing I double checked. All right. So slow comped, medium DRD2, called dopamine, and your serotonin path is dysregulated, SS.
Short, yes.
Yeah, super short. And BDNF, you have that epistatic thing that we talked about just now. So what was the concern?
So with sleep, I find like this trickles into everything and having to try to shut my mind down. And I do everything right as far as lots of wind down time before bed, dimming the lights, red light, stuff like that. But if you were just to take a little aerial view of this, is there something that you can pinpoint that maybe I'm not seeing to kind of
Yeah.
smooth things over?
So without knowing what you're doing, there's two big things: circadian rhythm, which is broken for you. And we just talked about those two supplements, right, that I dropped in the chat that
Yes.
very directly support circadian rhythm. The other thing I would say is very important as soon as your day starts to get either 15 or 20 minutes of sunlight or a high dose of vitamin D, right? The one
Okay.
way to support the circadian rhythm, if your clock is broken, you got to push the hand yourself, you know, you got to move the dial along with habits, which means consistently structuring your day so everything happens at the same time, starting with sunlight or vitamin D. If you were to take a hot shower right after that, it signals again to the body the production of BDNF, that heat, especially hitting the forehead, right? So hot shower, and then during the day, breaking a couple times to breathe. So again, your clock doesn't work, so you need to signal to it that time has moved on, which means just pausing for 2 minutes and just go in a corner somewhere and do that for a minute or two. And that pause allows your brain to allow the clock to keep ticking, right? The evening routine is very, sorry? Oh, I think that was just an echo. Sorry. So the evening routine is also very important. When you're the evening means like work and stress is over, it should truly be over. And you should shift your activity to some kind of light exercise immediately when you're done, either walk, stretch, yoga, right? And a clear break between workday and leisure. Started with that, some kind of light stretching is very good. Yoga, walking is excellent also. It signals to the body, oh, the evening has begun. I'm going to be sleeping in 4 to 6 hours. Like your brain
Yeah.
literally those kind of cues. And it's 2 hours before bed. Do you have a blue light filter lens?
Oh yeah, on everything.
You have everything? Okay. So you're putting, 2 hours before. There is it like a orange amber? Is it dark amber?
Yeah, I have the red light.
Okay. So what you might consider, and I think we actually have these. If not, you can go directly to them. But this is something that we can follow up with you after. There's a product called Viva Ray, which allows you to signal to the brain the continuance of time the way we are meant to experience it, which is there's a clear lens which blocks blue light during the day. It's not amber, it's clear. Then there's an amber lens that you magnetically clip on top.
Oh, okay.
For the evening, right? And then there's a deep orange lens that you clip on for the 1 hour before going to sleep. And that deep orange color signals to the brain, bind melatonin, because that's what our ancestors, they used to see fire. They used to see the amber glow of fire before going to sleep. So it signals the same marker and it triggers that. So I would consider that, again, maybe this is a follow-up where I think we have them. If we don't, we'll connect you to them. Highly recommend that.
So Viva. So another thing that I don't do well, Cash, is my methylation is very suboptimal, the whole profile.
Yeah, and your comp is also slow, which clogs things up a little bit. And to be specific on that, 1 second, I'll open it up. And we'll go back to sleep. There is more to look at there. I'll just quickly look at methylation.
And I can't take the vitamin B that's in everything. I have to have the sublingual hydroxy or something like that, that kind.
Yeah, you're yeah, sublingual B12. The version isn't as important. For some people, it's very important, but what is important is sublingual.
Mhm.
MTRR. The rest of it, you're not, it's actually not too bad. But
Okay,
you
good.
definitely need sublingual B12. The parts where most people are struggling, you're not doing as poorly. So some kind of B complex with a B9. So, and you need both. So the B12 is a separate concern. 1,000, I think MCG, it's called 1,000 sublingual under the tongue, which is usually what the dose is anyway. And then a B complex with the B9 to support methylation, the rest of your methylation. And those two things should support the whole cascade. And one other thing that supports your serotonin that will also support your sleep, going back to sleep again, is I would recommend getting a liposomal melatonin. So not a regular melatonin, liposomal. And why do I say that? Because regular melatonin is designed for regular people, but you have superpowers, right? Your clock.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so
I always
the
tell
light,
people, I'm like, we were on the sunrise ceremony team for our ancestry, and this is why we're like this. We're always up super early in the morning.
yeah, for sure. Your body knows what it needs, right? So yeah, so the liposomal melatonin, like right before going to bed, as you're on your way to bed, to sleep, it's very fast acting. The lipo, and it's potent, it's powerful. You might find that you'll sleep a little bit less, but you're going to get higher quality sleep. And
Yes.
do I also say that because your serotonin is dysregulated, you need melatonin to make serotonin, so, and because your clock is off, you're not dealing with melatonin properly.
I've tried every melatonin, low, sublingual, liquid, pills, high doses. I don't do well on any of them. So, but I've not tried the liposomal one.
Yeah, try levels. It's just direct, like it gets to work right away, right? And it's potent. You'll feel this deeper sleep.
Okay.
It will work. And yeah, so for that's what I mean. For the your problem needs more support than what a regular melatonin can provide, right? Your body doesn't know what to do with the melatonin. It's not even binding it.
Hmm.
So that's why those deep amber lenses help. And dimming the lights, like if you have pot lights in your home, like literally turning them down. If
Oh,
you have
yeah.
a fireplace, like looking at fire, candles, it truly all that stuff will help. If you light a few candles in your bedroom and read a book for a few minutes, all that stuff, these little things will help. You need to replicate the cave woman's life, which was it's dark and there's fire, right?
Good. And that's basically, yes, my room in a nutshell. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Rose, so much for your question. I hate
Thank
to cut this off. I just want to make sure we've got room for everyone. We have Elizabeth who put a question in the chat. I sent it to you, Cash. If we could touch base with her next, that would be great.
Her main concern is weight gain. She's in perimenopause. Okay. So weight gain is one of the areas where it's not a single gene that we're looking at. There's so many factors, but when we find the right one, it's so impactful, right? So it's not about, hey, let's go look at the weight loss gene. It's as like what kind of like what we're doing here. Let's go figure out circadian rhythm and sleep and anxiety. Those are singular pathways that we go to, right? Weight is complex. In fact, weight is one of the few areas where we've built an completely separate report. It's not sold or offered to the public, but we use it as a sort of research tool because there's clinical language in there that we're not allowed to provide. But it's like I think it's a 60 or 70 page document just on weight, because every single section in your report points to weight gain. We just don't know where. So I'll give you some examples. The same neurochemical we just talked about, serotonin, also points to emotional eating, meaning uncounted calories. You can very clearly believe that you ate correct and didn't because of your serotonin response. It's experiences true hunger, and it's a way of your body getting through stress without getting a crazy cortisol response. There's estrogen. So estrogen, I know that you said you have an increased risk for estrogen toxicity. So that may be an area where if you have that, plus you also have some of the wrong habits that may be overloading your estrogens. Estrogen mimics hormone disruptors in your environment, for example. Then perhaps there's a little bit too much estrogen toxicity, and your body is storing fat as a place to deposit those toxins, right? That's a protective measure that your body will go through to protect, to save you. We see often that, you know, neurochemicals like dopamine lead to reward seeking or pleasure seeking activities, or binging, for example. So you may find a food that you like and eat the whole bucket as opposed to just a spoonful that you thought you were going to. And this stuff happens unknowingly. So it only becomes known when you start to be aware by discovering through your genome what to look out for. So why I say all this is because there isn't any one thing to look at when it comes to why can't I lose weight. The one thing that does stand out is your estrogen toxicity, which definitely would trigger to your body, hey, we need fat as a place to deposit this stuff. Your body will do that. Very likely scenario, especially as you're getting into perimenopause. We see shifts there. There's also a shift in thyroid function as you age. It's a thyroid function is an epidemic. It's the root cause of so much, especially in women, cardiovascular disease, cancers, diabetes, etc., rooted in poor thyroid function, which also leads to general dysbiosis of the body, including weight gain. So my short answer is this is a place where people get stuck quite commonly. We can get you unstuck. It's not a very straightforward go do this and you're good, unless it's the estrogen toxicity, which just based on what you typed in potentially could be. This is an area where I'd recommend, if at the very least someone just review your genetics, which again takes time, and run it through our weight loss. There's someone on our team named Justin Harris who in the last few months has probably done 50 or 60 weight loss programs. There's a partner we have here in Canada that we sell weight loss programs through, and Justin Harris is a nutritionist on our team, executed them. So he has a lot of experience there, real life, like working with people experience. So that's one of the areas where I would say you might want to consider working with somebody. If it's a financial question, then perhaps we just get deep into your genome and try and see if anything stands out. But again, so short answer, estrogen toxicity could definitely lead to storage of fat, which it doesn't matter what you do with calories or exercise, it's still going to do it. Your body's going to, and it's actually going to be a load on your, if you're fighting it by not eating and exercising, but your body is looking for fat to store, that's actually going to cause you harm. So clearing that estrogen toxicity is a big one. If it's not that, then again, it's not a very quick answer. We can get to certainty with confidence, but it's not a very simple process to get there. We have to dive deep into your genome to figure out all the potential problems, because every single system can lead to a problem. Michael, yeah, that is Viva Ray. Keep in mind, I think we do have some of them in stock. I'm fairly certain we have some. So, okay. I see. And by the way, for Elizabeth, if that didn't answer, and if there's more in-depth info you have there, go ahead and type it in and we'll keep going. Zen, how are you doing?
Hi, it's actually Jen, but that's my
Oh,
nickname.
that's your nickname. It actually says Zen Jen.
I know it comes up as my nickname.
Okay.
So my
Cool.
question is, I guess my end goal is also, I guess, weight loss and building muscle, but my focus looking at the the information that I got from you and the programs I should follow is really trying to focus on having more energy and having, I guess you would say less, like more focus, but I guess enthusiasm, that kind of thing. So I've been sort of zeroing in on like dopamine and serotonin and that type of thing. But I was just curious if you looked at my profile where you might say I should put my focus if I'm really looking for like more energy and more like enthusiasm and focus in my life.
So both mental and physical energy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm guessing your results are not under Zengen.
Jennifer Carney, Kearney. I should change that. I don't, that just comes up on my Zoom profile.
Let's see. I found you. Okay. So we'll look at both cellular health and neurochemical pathways. Sometimes the problems are sort of interchangeable. So you have the deep binging propensity because of your sorry, it's the opposite now, fast comped and high DRD2. So you are the squirrel that I was mistakenly telling Rose she is. She actually had the slow comped. So what this looks like is your brain gets satisfied easily. You're kind of in this state of things are good, but it's very hard to maintain. And it moves quickly, which means I'm going on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And when you get that next thing, it's like, yeah, it was good, but now what's next? What's next? So that is not in the context of energy, is not a healthy place to be. It's energy draining. Your brain uses more energy than any other part of your body, right? So if you're constantly like, what's next, what's next, what's next, and there's no focus, that is a drain on your whole body, because the energy in total available, your proportions are off. The brain's sucking up too much, right? And so the rest of the body gets dragged down. So now let me just continue here for a second. There's also some serotonin dysregulation, which means now combine this serotonin dysregulation with this sort of fast comped activity. It kind of leads to this chronic anxiety, like ongoing, constant, right? I can't get no satisfaction, right? Always moving on to the next thing. And I see things in a higher level of detail. That's chronic anxiety. So what you're experiencing, maybe it's not clinically representing itself or expressing itself, but it is, your genes clearly speak to that, right? So with chronic anxiety, that is a load on your brain and your body for sure. And typically, that's going to speak to elevated cortisol response. Your body's going to be constantly stressed, overly reading into things. And so I would say it's a combination. So unlike Kathleen, where I said it's just structure, for you, it's supplements and structure. I would really focus on your gut. Do you remember your GSTM1? Or I can look it up. We were going to look at that anyway, so I'll bring it up. One sec. Yeah, GSTM10 and mitochondrial function is off. And your FUT2 is suboptimal. So your gut is probably a disaster. And that exaggerates this, because the root cause of your brain drain is in neurochemical structure that really was highly beneficial in, again, a different context. In today's chronic stimulatory context, is going to lead to chronic anxiety. Live on a farm, you would be the leader. You're the person that actually gets things done because you're willing to get up off the porch and do something, right? So, but again, our context has changed, and that's why things don't feel good anymore. So, you definitely have to focus on your gut. I think that's where the majority of the change will come from. You have zero gut detox, and you have very poor enzyme activity. So there's two things to do. Think about what's coming in. Ultra clean. And it's not just the food, it's the packaging, it's the drying chemicals. It's like, where was it transported from? Who handled it? Like every single consideration about how your food may be contaminated, you have to think about. And then it's enzyme activity. So we've talked about this before, but there's a company we really like called Biooptimizers. So Biooptimizers make some great products. They make a product called Masszymes, which you should likely be taking, especially if you're eating plants. You may not need as much with red meat, but if you're eating plants, you should. If you want to, by the way, go through like some acute healing of the gut, you may go on a carnivore diet for 5 to 8 weeks. You don't necessarily need to maintain it, but I can tell you that if you really do it for real, that you're eating nothing but steak, liver, eggs, kidney for 5 to 8 weeks, it's going to be rapid healing of your gut and your energy in your mind. You're going to feel like a different person, right?
Would I
Sorry?
need, if I was on a carnivore diet, would I need to take some kind of enzymes, do you think?
Not as much as, so the enzyme activity you're lacking. So keep in mind, when we think of meat, we think of it in our 4 food groups context,
Mhm.
right? If you're just eating meat and just kidney and eggs and liver, your body plows through it really efficiently. Your stomach loves that. It's going to feel great. It's when you start to mix in the carbs and the starches and the plants and everything, then you struggle with the meat, because it's much easier for your body to use starch as fuel than to use proteins. And so it goes in that direction. And that's why we have trouble with meat. It's not so much the meat itself, it's what our plate looks like. So if you went carnivore for 5 to 8 weeks, I'm not, and I don't know how you eat right now, but you'll find even a couple weeks into it, you're going to feel like a very different person. In 5 to 8 weeks is around the time where your gut will really heal. And what I would add is there's a product that Biooptimizers makes called Biome something. I always forget the second word. Someone here is going to know it, probably type it in. Biome something. It literally heals the gut wall. So that this dysbiotic state that your gut wall is probably in, it will heal it. The enzymes, the Masszymes, you probably, I mean, you don't, it's the reason I brought up the Masszymes earlier is just to throw into your regular diet. If you're going carnivore, it's not really a need, but maybe in the first couple of weeks you're doing it anyway, just to support, right? Because you're coming from a place that needs support. And then, peak biome. I'm not sure if that's the same one, because I thought biome was the first word in the product I was looking at. It's called biome something. Or maybe they changed the name. I'll take a look.
That's really
Carol
interesting.
says that Peak Biome is the product.
Oh, I found Biome Breakthrough.
Biome Breakthrough, yeah.
Biome Breakthrough. Yeah, that's the Peak Biome may do something similar. I'm not familiar with that one. Biome Breakthrough is the one that I kind of studied the ingredients and it looked like it does a good job.
Okay. That's the
Uh,
going on a carnivore diet is the opposite to what I would have thought, because I actually have been I get more vegetarian than vegan, I guess, for quite a long time. And I
Yeah.
have been introducing some fish and meat the last year or so. But I always think that I have trouble digesting red meat. Maybe again, it's the combination, because I'm eating it with other things and then it just kind of gets stuck.
Yeah, the first 2 or 3 days you might not feel great, it may be tough. But a week or two into it, weight will change, mood will change, gut will change. It's one of the few things left that hasn't been adulterated, and get some nice high quality grass-fed meat, good eggs, and it's still clean, right? And it's one of the few things you can do that's anti-inflammatory, that has all of the nutrients you need. The only thing you should consider adding, if you've been a vegetarian for a long time, are some electrolytes. if you're gonna go straight carnivore. There's a company called Redmond's Real Salt that has a really great product. There's a company called LMNT.
You have that, yeah.
Yeah, that oh yeah, Michael's right. Beam makes some awesome stuff. In fact, they probably make the best stuff. So the difference between the other two are salts, so they hydrate you. Beam is just straight minerals,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
So that-
Cash, if you have any other supplement recommendations, if we just let Michael know, we can pass them along to Jen. I just want to make sure we
Okay.
get to move on. Thank you so much, Jen, for your question. Somebody who's been waiting patiently is Mary Kelly, and I dropped her question from the chat into the
Okay.
chat for you, Cash.
All
Thank you
right.
so much, everyone.
And Jen, love to hear from you after that's done, because I have a feeling you're gonna feel amazing.
Okay, thanks.
And sorry, the name again was
Mary Kelly.
Mary Kelly.
Can
I
you
feel
hear me?
like I have brain fog today.
What?
I have brain fog today. It's like I feel it.
Oh.
You know, actually, I'll tell you what's going on. I've been traveling for like 10-ish days straight, a little bit more. And I
Wow.
have not been working out properly, and I have not been taking my supplements properly. And I have not been eating properly because I'm either avoiding garbage food or not, you know, so I've been trying not to eat the garbage, so I haven't been eating enough. So this combination of 10 days of bad habits, and I have brain fog now.
Mhm.
And I once again forgot the name. Mary
Mary
Kelly. I
Kelly.
haven't.
Yeah, it's an easy one too. Could you look at my thing for me for a second?
Sure.
And I have muscular dystrophy and live in a wheelchair, unfortunately. So I don't get a lot of movement. I try to, do everything I can. I've gotten really serious about trying to actually cure muscular dystrophy, which I've been working on for 40 years. But now I'm like sacrocranial and acupuncture and meditating all the time. I have a trainer and I'm working out and trying to eat pretty clean. But I feel like I might be barking up the wrong tree. Maybe there's some stuff in this report that I really need to be doing that I don't know about or not doing. So I wanted to see if
So your mitochondrial function is pretty good, and your detox pathways are pretty good. Methylation is off. These are the area. So again, we're not going to deal with the dystrophy because, as you said, that's a genetic condition. We're going to say, how do you become the best version of that? Right? How do you get the best possible outcome?
Well,
There's
have
something.
you ever seen anybody with a disease like a genetic disease like that actually be able to cure it?
Well, what we have seen is that here's muscular dystrophy. Why is that person experiencing 2 out of 10 and that person is experiencing 8 out of 10 with the same problem? And that comes down to the terrain. So if something doesn't have a cure, it doesn't have a cure. But the degree to which it's affecting you, how
Right.
sick are you? How well do you feel? That's in your control. It's not going to be gone, but
Right.
the difference in terms of your capabilities and etc., that's a little bit in your control. And we have seen this. We have seen this in various genetic conditions. So the area of focus. So there's two things. One thing, I'm going to go back to your original question of all the sort of hacks we can use, but looking at your genome, what stands out is your methylation is off kind of throughout the cascade. And so you do definitely need methylation support. Let me just check your comp 1 second. Comp is sort of medium. So yeah, what you need is folinic acid and a B complex. So that's methylation, just dealing with that one thing. Now for someone, so just make a note of that, B complex and folinic acid, you might be able to find a B complex with folinic acid in it. If not, do not get a B complex that has folate.
Okay.
Folic acid, most of them do. So you're looking to not have folate, not have methylated folate, not have folic acid. You're looking for folinic acid in a B complex or a B complex plus folinic acid, however you can get it.
Okay.
If you need support there, we can help you find products on our end. So now going back to, what can you do? You said it's difficult because mobility is a limiting factor, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot now that can be done in terms of charging the cells and moving muscle without moving. So there's EMF suits now where you, and I don't know, some of these things that I'm going to say, maybe you already know about, but there's EMF suits where you can let head to toe. You can wear a suit, and these are used by US military. They're used, it's actually quite common in Europe. I don't know why we don't see it here that much, but there's gyms in Europe where they do this, where you wear this suit and it charges and stimulates the muscles with electrical currents, which hyper accelerates the workout. So you can
Okay.
be less strenuous on your, and it's designed for people that are coming out of injury or elderly or people that cannot handle the strenuous load, but still want the muscle challenge. So EMF suit, again, it provides a deep stimulus to the muscle. Like it goes far beyond your typical weightlifting. It goes into these tiny microfibers and rips them apart, which causes a building of new muscle, right? So that's one, and that's something that you can put on and wear and go through a session without any movement at all, right?
Okay.
So that's one. Second thing, have you used any sort of PEMF, pulse electric magnetic frequency devices?
No.
No. So PEMF is another thing you can do with no mobility that does a couple of things. So there's a couple of different versions. So there's PEMF, which is like just overall cellular regeneration. And then there's PEMF, and let me just see if I took a picture of this device, by the way, because I can tell you the name. Where it very specifically goes to the part of your body that needs healing. So as an example, I did this about a week ago, and I had done some deadlifts with bad form because I was in a rush. And so I didn't hurt my back, but it was definitely sore, right? Like I strained my back. And so now the soreness was gone a week or so later. So I forgot about this issue. And then I went on this PEMF, and when I turned it up, there was an intense sensation in my lower back, exactly where that injury happened. Right. So it went to the part of my body that needed healing. And how does it do that? Because one of the main things that your body needs to heal is voltage, charge. Right. So your mitochondria is constantly making energy. And if you have a device that can balance charge, it's going to go to the place that needs it the most empty bucket.
Okay.
Right. Anyway, so sorry. That's another
Awesome.
another thing you should consider, PEMF. And let me see if I can get you the name of this actual device. One sec.
You said Paul EMF, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I don't have it here, but I'll get you.
Yeah, that's definitely something we can follow up with Mary. If you can find it, Cash, we can always send it to her after.
We know them, they're friendly, but you're catching me during a brain fog session, so
Well, you're doing pretty darn good for brain fog.
I'm trying.
Perfect. Yeah, if there's any additional information, Cash, you want to give to Mary Kelly, we can
Yeah,
definitely
There
pass.
is one more thing beyond the PEMF, which is you might want to consider for your bed, wherever you sleep, to have it grounded.
Okay.
Like getting into like woo-woo territory,
Yeah.
but our ancestors slept on the ground, and there's frequency that comes from the earth that is meant to heal us as we sleep,
Mhm.
which we don't get. We're sleeping upstairs, elevated from the floor, and we're meant to literally sleep on the ground. And one way to receive that, so there's two ways. You can buy a grounding mat. So there's mats that you can put on your mattress that mimic the frequencies that you would have got if you slept on the earth.
Yep.
Or you can actually literally ground your bed frame. You can get some cable, tie it to your bed, and like stick it out the window and stick it into the ground. And we've seen people heal things like rheumatoid arthritis and crazy issues.
Wow.
Imagine it's 8 hours of continuous healing,
Mhm.
as you're sleeping. So these few areas, again, this may be an area, by the way, where you might want to dive deeper with a coach, because keep in mind, like in this few minutes, we came up with 2 or 3 things. There's so
Yeah.
much that we know. And it's not about, again, cure, we don't have it yet. How
Yeah.
bad is it? That can be changed.
Right.
Right? So and there's a lot more we can do. Imagine we did this in 5 minutes. What if we spent a month with you working on
Yes,
this?
I
You
would
might
love
want
to.
to-
Yeah.
Yeah, so if that's a consideration for you, I would, reach out to client care, ask them about how do I work on your programs. Your, in your case, very specific area where that could be beneficial.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much. This is
No
so,
problem.
really, really appreciate it.
No
Perfect.
problem.
Thanks so much, Mary Carly. The next question we have, Cash, I dropped it in the chat. That's just from Jen, who's been patiently waiting. Thank you.
Where is, I'm looking, you know the timestamp on it?
I sent it to you as a message. She sent it a little while ago, but I sent it to you as a message around 4:30. 4:20.
Oh, message meaning, oh, sorry, 4:30, you're Pacific.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, now it adds up. Okay. Oh, Jen has the next question from chat. Wondering about support for perimenopause, co-dominant. Okay. So your big emotions, there's more to look at than hormones. We have to look at neurochemicals so kind of understand your baseline, right? Your 6G. So the thing that stands out to me here is your 9p21. You 100% have to be dealing with, so you are wired for inflammation, not because of your, well, yes, partially because of your anti-inflammatory pathways, so your mitochondrial function is poor, your glutathione function is poor. So the things that will cause the inflammation are likely to be available in the bloodstream, but your endothelium is the worst possible quality, which means your organs, your vasculature head to toe is highly prone to inflammation. So anything that you feel, like emotions, brain fog, whatever, are going to get exaggerated because inflammation is the root of all of this stuff. In fact, most chronic disease, inflammation is the thing. That's the thing that causes it. It's not the disease, it's the reason why your body got led to a disease state. So in your case, I would hyper focus on that 9p216G. There's a product called Arterisol. It's the best thing I've seen out there in terms of direct endothelial support. I think we offer it. It's on the marketplace on our website. If not, we can connect you to them. So make a note of these 2 or 3 things, and then we'll figure out where to get it for you. So Arterisol, you definitely, there's a gene called NOS3. Now, depending what version you have, we can look at dosage, but you definitely should be adding nitric oxide for nutrient delivery and blood flow. There's one particular brand that we really like. I think it's called NO1 or NO2 or something along those lines. I know which one it is. It's Dr. Brian, amazing guy. He has the best research out there in terms of nitric oxide. So there's that. And between those 2 things, oh, and you should be taking a high grade omega-3. So between those 3 things, it will support your endothelium, which will then bring inflammation down. And depending how old you are, I'm going to guess you're probably going to start to see elevated cholesterol levels soon if you don't eat, regardless of how healthy you are and how sick you are and what you eat and exercise. Cholesterol is the tool your body uses to heal inflammation, and you're wired for inflammation. So 47, yeah, so you're at that state where it's going to hit soon. You would have been told that you have a cholesterol problem and probably given a pill. It's not a cholesterol problem, it's an inflammation problem. And so that's where, yeah, so those 3 things will support the endothelium health itself. Then your glutathione and mitochondrial function need support. So the thing causing the inflammation also needs, you need to put out the fire. So we make something called mitochondrial optimizer. If you were here earlier on the call, you probably heard about sauna and red light therapy and breath holding and breathing exercises. All of those things are good for mitochondrial response, right? Oh, sorry, I just saw a note here. Your NOS is, your NOS is GG. So GG is actually optimal, which is good, which means your body will really efficiently use nitric oxide. So that supplement will really help you. You don't need like a therapeutic dose. It'll really help you. So those are things I would recommend. I would say in this sort of short time we have, you're hyper focused on mitochondrial support, glutathione, not by taking glutathione, but by taking precursors like NAC, selenium, and then endothelium support should be your number one priority. Arterisol, nitric oxide, and omega-3. It may take some time to heal, but all of everything else is rooted in mitochondrial function and inflammation, the things you're describing, right? Inflammation, your mood and behavior issues are being exaggerated because you're having neural inflammation, right? It's another problem. So that's where I would recommend focusing on that. What do we got next here? No problem. Oh, Sarah, what's your last name? I can look it up.
Are you talking to me, Sarah from
Yeah,
Kentucky?
sorry. You had the
It's-
question about the
like
suboptimal glutathione?
Yes, Sarah McNulty, McNulty.
Okay. Sorry, MC.
NULTY. McNulty. Got it?
Got it.
I wanted to do a general discussion, and then on the Dave Asprey's show, I listened to him a lot, and that's how I came across you in the first place.
Okay.
They were talking about this glutathione cream,
Yep.
and I ordered it, but I haven't used it because when I saw this, I thought, gee, I don't know what I should do. So anyway, you can give me a discussion on it, please.
Yeah. So in your case, you're one of the few people where we would say, yes, go ahead and use that glutathione cream. Because your GSTT1, you have both copies from mom and dad, so optimal profile there. Your GSTP1, which is airborne inhalation-based toxin defense, you're kind of like minus 50%, so not doing the best. But that combination of okay GSTP1 plus good GSTT1 allows you to use glutathione efficiently, so you're welcome to go ahead and do that. Where you're not doing well in glutathione is your gut. GSTM1, you're actually missing the gene entirely. And so you have to be really, really careful about what's going into your gut. It's the same thing we said earlier to Jen. It's like, it's not just the food, it's everything that comes along with the food, the packaging, the plastics, the pesticides, the heavy metals from the machines that it was processed on. Everything is a consideration for you that somebody else may not have to think about. So, and the glutathione will support that, the glutathione cream, it definitely will. But it cannot keep up with you eating bad food. So there's no amount of glutathione you can take to make up for throwing toxins in your gut.
Well, of course, I call myself eating really well. I'm 75 and I'm not on any medication. I live
Amazing.
on a farm, and part of the farm I live on, I have a lot of trees and animals and things. So I'm living as close to nature as I can. And it doesn't take much from me. I'm real sensitive to farm chemicals and things. I'm in a farming area, so I stay off everywhere when they're spraying chemicals and all that. I'm real sensitive. So, I mean, I'll do whatever I need to do. And I know there's no perfect, clean anything anymore. I like the B minerals. I think that's helped me a lot.
Minerals will certainly help you. We're all depleted for minerals. Our food is not mineral rich anymore. The water is stripped of minerals. In fact, there's toxic nonsense added in the minerals. So you have to reverse osmosis, clean it, and then all that's left is H2O and there's no minerals. So we all need minerals. You definitely should be watching out for those farm chemicals because again, your respiratory detox is minus 50%. That's why you don't feel well when there's sprays. And a lot of those farming chemicals lead to neurological issues. So we're seeing, like Parkinson,
You see all the sick farmers in Kentucky.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They haven't figured it out.
Yeah, Yeah, and it's hard to, when it's your living, it's hard to blame the living, but
Mhm.
right now there's a lawsuit where there's 13,000 farmers that are suing Chevron because of
Yes.
paraquats and the Parkinson's that's caused. It's so clear and obvious. So yeah, once again, do it. So when the season is there, right, and there's a lot of spray and there's a lot of chemicals, you might want to consider up dosing the glutathione.
Okay.
It might drag you down a little bit in the context of the minerals and nutrients also get cleared. So things you need also get cleared, but
Mhm.
the negativity of all of the spray, you don't want that stuff. So when it comes to spray season, up dose, right? Um, but you may want to also up dose on the minerals during those times because you're going to deplete yourself,
Okay.
right?
Yes, and I don't want to take up any more time because you may have other people, but I do want to hire someone to work with me individually. I really
Sure.
appreciate you all. It's been great.
No, it's a pleasure. And for that,
It's wonderful.
maybe B will connect directly with Sarah and get her set
Yeah,
up with the person.
definitely. Sarah will follow up and point you in the right direction for somebody who can
Sure.
guide you a little bit more further down this journey for
Oh,
sure.
yes,
And
thank
given
you.
that she has a really unique context with the farming and chemicals, etc., I'll just chime in there a little bit once she gets set up because there's just stuff that environmentally that we know that whoever the practitioner is, I can guide them a little bit.
Perfect.
Okay, Linda. Sorry, I know we said Sarah was the last question, but it looks like Linda never got a chance to.
Sorry, hello.
Hey,
Just wondering, I'm struggling with insulin resistance and I have a feeling that that's why I can't lose weight, or I'm pretty sure that that's the key there. But I also can never get deep sleep. So those are my two big things where I think if I could figure that out, I think that will help me feel better. Just wondering I'm Linda with a Y, if you can look at my profile and see what stands out to
you're
you.
tracking your sleep?
Yeah, I don't use an Aura ring, but I use a sleep cycle app.
Okay, what does your sleep look like? Are you getting REM sleep?
I just bounce up and down like this. I don't get to stay in deep sleep.
Okay, so yeah, your neurochemical profile definitely speaks to that. Your BDNF is way off, your TPH is off, your serotonin is completely dysregulated. You're not designed for sleep. That's for sure.
Yep. I could tell you that, but I don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, so there's answers to that, but let me just peek at your insulin response because they're interrelated actually.
I'm wearing a CGM. I just started about 6 months ago to try to figure that out. And again, I can't keep my insulin under 100. It's very hard for me. And then other times in the middle of the night, I'll bottom out and the alarm goes off.
Okay.
Other times I wake up and it's 120.
Wow.
And I try to fast, but.
So your ability to metabolize starches is excellent. It's your insulin response itself, which is the worst possible.
Okay.
And your fat response is not the best. So one thing for you that we didn't say, for other people, very specifically, your metabolic health is definitely going to affect your sleep.
Okay.
Means no food, nothing, like nothing, 3 hours before bed.
Okay. Yep. I do that.
You do that?
Try
Okay.
to.
So now, yeah, your insulin response is completely broken. Let's call it that. That is what it
Okay.
is. So what's important is you have to, and your fat response is also a little off. So you do well with starches, but you're going to have to, there's a supplement called berberine.
Yep.
Have you tried that?
I do that twice a day.
You do it twice a day? Okay.
Mhm.
The other thing to consider is adding a lot of fiber. So berberine and fiber before your meals.
Okay.
Fiber also counteracts the insulin response.
Okay.
And the other thing I would say is your food has to be kind of siloed where your proteins and your starches and everything are kind of separated.
Okay.
So if you're eating a steak, you're just eating a steak, and when you eat your starches, you're just eating your starches. And why do I say that? Because when your fat response is off, it can also cause some, create a load on your insulin response. Because ultimately we convert fat into glucose, so it's if you don't metabolize it properly, it's also going to cause you to struggle. So you
So
want to
I've been trying to MCT oil in my coffee in the morning to try to get into ketosis. Apparently, I probably shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, that's going to be more challenging for you because you don't
Okay.
metabolize fat sufficiently, right? You're more paleo than anything else, like lean protein, plants, right? And never, never, never mixing starches or carbs with fats.
Okay.
Going to cause you to struggle. And now going back to the sleep issue, your issue is multifactorial complex. It's fixable, right? But it's not a single answer. But your circadian rhythm is broken. So do you remember earlier when we were talking about the what to do about circadian rhythm?
Yep.
The same answer for you, starting with sunlight, vitamin D, pausing to breathe, light, low intensity exercise in the evening, um, all of the other stuff that boosts BDNF, like mitochondrial stimulation, um, red light therapy, sauna, all of that stuff, right? And then your
I love
serotonin response. It's more about having an environmental intervention. It's like the sleep cocoon.
Uh-huh.
So what your body is looking for is a signal of safety, and it's also looking for void of any stimulus.
Okay.
Your serotonin response is waiting for sunlight as a trigger to then bind serotonin and wake up. And because your brain can't prioritize stimulus, it's binding everything. It's responding to everything. And so what you need to do is heavy weighted blanket,
Yep.
like a 25-pound blanket. You need a cooling pad underneath you. It's a chilly sleep pad, right? Your room has to be cold. I can tell you as a Canadian in Celsius, that's 18 degrees or more. I'm not sure what that means in Fahrenheit.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, that's what Google is for. Uh, and uh, and separate blanket ideally, like truly you picture like a kid that's been what do they call it, coddled, like wrapped up, right? That
Yeah.
signal safety to your body. You were designed to be at the front of the cave waiting for the wolf.
I
That's your
feel like
job.
that sometimes.
Yeah. So you need to signal safety to your body so that it doesn't think that there's any threat at all. And that's heavy weighted blanket, perfectly cool underneath, zero sound, light, or smell stimulus. Blackout blinds, eye mask, earplugs, like everything, right? You can also, you remember I mentioned the liposomal melatonin?
Yep. I just was going to ask you, would I do liposomal? I've never heard of that one. I've done every milligram of melatonin there is, but I've
Okay.
not done liposomal. So I'm going to look into
Try
that.
that. The only challenge with you is that you might wake up and perhaps even need a second dose.
Need a bump. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you'll like literally because your challenge is you wake up, serotonin gets to work, and then your cortisol responds, and then you actually wake up, and it might
Yep.
be 4 p.m. Right?
Yep. It's
You might
2 or
need a
3.
Sorry?
It's 2 and 3 a.m. when that happens.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? It's that second cycle starts, and your body doesn't know what to do. So all of the above we talked about, and you might want to take a second dose of that liposomal, and it works because it works really quickly, right? So it'll help you, but you might feel a little sluggish in the morning,
Okay.
right? It's better to actually get the sleep and feel sluggish in the morning than to have no sleep, right?
Yep. I'd love that.
Yeah. And the sluggishness is not like tired; it's more like groggy. So that's
Yeah.
that's what you might experience. So it's all of that stuff. It's circadian rhythm support, cocoon, safety, cool, weighted blanket, chili pad underneath you, cooling you off. a separate blanket, blackout blinds, earplugs, like everything. And then on
Okay.
top of the melatonin we talked about, and when you wake up, immediately take that second dose. Right?
Okay.
And if you feel like you're struggling, get on the edge of your bed,
Uh-huh.
do a 1 minute breathing exercise.
Okay.
Right? It puts you into a parasympathetic state, because the problem is when you wake up, you're sympathetic, you're pumping cortisol and trying to wake up, and you want to signal to your brain, no, I'm not ready for this yet. So get into back to parasympathetic, which deep breathing does for you.
I use an Apollo Neuro to help me with
Amazing.
that.
That's
Okay.
amazing. That's a great tool to use. Yeah.
Hi,
Yeah.
Cash. I don't mean to interrupt, but we have a hard stop here in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Linda.
8 p.m. we're doing an interview. So it just doesn't end. And then hopefully by midnight I get my third shift over. So all right, guys. So there was a few things here where you needed support from the team. So we're here for that. If you needed to clarify any of the supplements or anything we talked about, we're here. A couple of you said you might need more support in terms of coaching, functional practitioners, even functional medicine. We're here for that, to support you. So, and what it says right there, contact client care, it's in the last message there. They know to expect messages from you guys and to prioritize them because of this call. So we'll be waiting for your messages and prioritizing them since you attended here with us, and we'll get you whatever support you need. So thank you again. Sorry we started a few minutes late, but thank you for sticking around with us, and we'll see you again whenever you like.
Thanks, Cash.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night, guys.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right.
Thank you. I'm glad you
Your
survived.
genetics
Thank
are
you.
a phenomenal
Bow-
thing.
bow
A 40-year-old person who
today.
looks and feels like they're 28 isn't because they left things to chance. They're doing things differently. Chronic disease, aging, poor performance. These are all the result of wrong choices. But how do you know what the right choices are for you? And what would be the impact if you always made the right choice? What if you can change the day you die? When you see those first wrinkles, those gray hairs, or a call from the doctor and they say, I need to see you, your test results are in. We've taken it for granted that this is meant to happen, that aging and disease are just a part of life. Well, what if they're not? You can't feel cancer coming. There's no warning that dementia is on the way, and so we think these things just happen. We get sick, we try to treat it, but it's too late. Well, now there's a better way, a way that puts us each in charge of our own destiny. Genetic research has advanced more in the last 3 years than the last 30. And this personal instruction manual that's in each one of us has finally been properly decoded. We can now get ahead of disease or even reverse it, allowing us to decide how we age. Our scientists have clinically studied over 5,000 people. We've sat in front of each and every one of them. We looked at their hair, their skin, their mood and behavior, their medical history, everything about them, all overlaid on their DNA map. We then understood where the biochemistry of your trillions of cells and the instructions of your 22,000 genes intersect. And with that, what choices each one of us needs to make to slow down aging and catch disease before it happens. I have no doubt that with the genetic insights we're seeing today, chronic disease will soon be a story that we tell our grandchildren. If you understand why chronic disease and aging really happen, you also understand that they are truly optional.